Hi friends, welcome to episode 137. The weather is getting very like summer. It's well before 6 o'clock, it's about 5:30 now, and already it's getting light, but I think next week is when the clocks go forward or whatever, so I have to get up an hour earlier, but I'm ready for it now. Anyway, getting on with this, Rexine, I have now run out of my green Rexine, so I'm going to have to get a little bit more to do a couple more panels upstairs on the RT. And because the weather's now so much better, hopefully over the next couple of days, I'm going to be able to take all that stuff out that I put inside, the tables and what have you. I'll remove all of that, and then I'm going to be working in here rather than inside the bus because we don't need that anymore. So, yeah, this might be a slightly busier weekend because I'm certainly aware of at least 3 people that are going to pop up this weekend. So stick with me. I'm going to go and shove the kettle on and let's see how we get on in this edition. If you're looking for an episode on Rexine panels, you come to the right... No, you haven't actually. Because this weekend, I didn't really get as much done on the RT as I really hoped. Because it was, every now and then you have a sort of social weekend, which really, people are trying to get things done. And this weekend, young Wesley popped up because he wants to take one of his buses away to be restored. So that took up a little bit of my time because I jumped in to help out. And then in the week, Nick Smith, the owner of DM999, phoned me up or sent me a text and said, Dean, can you have a look at my DMS for me because it's playing up. I've got a problem with the flag unit. And I texted him back and I said, sorry, Nick, I know absolutely nothing about DMSs. Sunday, I ended up laying underneath his DMS trying to trace all the problems. I'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, it was a sort of a more a social weekend than it actually was getting anything done on my RT. But I did manage to get a few things done, and I did manage to hit a milestone, which I really hoped I would have got done. And as usual, I didn't get all that stuff out the saloon. I really wanted to get the saloon cleared out, ready to start the next phase, the brown Rexine. But I didn't get around to doing it, unfortunately, because obviously doing Nick's bus and helping Wesley took quite a large chunk of my time this weekend. So I'll run you through those anyway in a minute. So, should we start with Rexine? Should we get that out of the way first? Yeah, let's start with this one I really didn't want to do. As they say, all good things must come to an end. Sadly, in this case, it was the supplies. I've run out of this green Rexine now. I've just got enough to do this front bulkhead. This is the one that sits just upstairs by the 2 front windows. And obviously where I am now would be the offside window, and where I'm now is the near side window. I put those pegs on the top. I wonder what on earth those pegs are doing there. I do use a lot of them when I'm gluing these panels down, so I just put them there just to be on the safe side. And there's also somewhere around, not far away from me, another big box of them. So hence the reason to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to mark all of that out, and then I've got the fun job of cutting it all out. But I haven't got enough. I've got 2 little corner pieces that go the other side of this, and I just haven't got enough Rexine to do them. But I had a chat with the guy I bought this off of some time ago, and he says, well, I've got just about enough for you to do that, so I'm going to buy a little bit more off of him. Yeah, so the bit I've got in my hand at the moment is one of the ones from downstairs, and I'm just trying to work out how I'm going to get these to work. So I've got enough just about for this corner piece, and I've got enough for the other corner piece, but I haven't got enough for this bit. So one or the other is going to have to give way for it, so I can't get that to work, which is a real shame. But anyway, so lots of fiddling about and trying to plan it, but it just isn't going to work. Right, so it's time to get that glue out again. This is that spray adhesive. I've got to do both sides of the Rexine. Unfortunately, it goes everywhere, as you can see. If you look carefully, you'll see it's all over the place. So now, I really I pondered how best to do this, and this shows why that glue is much better than the other sticky stuff that I bought, because it really allows me to reposition. And when you've got a sheet like this, I've got a bit of brown paper on there, I've just noticed. I've found it, there you go. Right, so when you've got a sheet like this, you have to sort of try and work out what is the best process. And I found this is the best way of doing it. But although it goes quite nicely, especially on the core bits, where the corner is, where it just goes up, which is between the two windows, where you can see the bit there, there's like a sort of a recess, and you've got to push it in. That bit that I'm doing there is just where it goes in the blind box, but it's that bit where my other arm is that was going to pose to be a really major problem later on, and I really did struggle with that. And it's this Rexine is not sufficiently pliable for me to get it to work properly. And it's these two corners here that are the biggest problem. Now, the obvious thing to do is to cut down the Rexine, so you put a little cut in it, so it works better. That works very well at this end and this end, but unfortunately, when you're trying to push the Rexine round corners, what happens is it starts to tear, and that's exactly what it did with this. But I'll come back to this later on. I'll do the other one. The other one was also going to be a bit of a puzzle. This one is the near side corner piece. And as you can see, I'm trying to work out which way to do it. And again, this glue, there, look, it's grabbed hold of it. I'll put it on fast forward because this just goes on forever. So yeah, it's just trying to work out which way to get it to work properly. But this wasn't going to be easy because there's so many twists and turns in it, and it just doesn't look right. And I don't even think I've got it right at that point. But yeah, it took forever and ever on this one. It's probably been quicker for me just to zoom to me having almost finished it. Yeah, so it was about an hour's work there eventually, but lots of pushing and shoving and trying to get it to fit in the corners. And it is just, it's not pliable. If you imagine like PVC, it would be really quite pliable, but this stuff's got like a kind of cotton back on it, and it just won't give up. So anyway, I'll flip to this picture of the two almost completed. They don't look too bad, do they? But I cheated. What happened was, and you can just about see it in this picture, where the Rexine tore was really quite frustrating because, one, this is the last chance I had to do this because I haven't got any more spare Rexine, as you well know, because I mentioned it earlier on. And Wesley popped up and he said, on my RT, on those difficult corner pieces, there's these little triangles that have been cut in. So what I had to do was to cut in little triangles, and I had to do the same on the big panel that sits at the front, plus the little one that goes up round the corner of the window. And you can also see on this big panel, you can actually notice just about where the Rexine was starting to tear with all the pulling and pushing around, and that will be lost underneath the window rubber. So the window rubber covers probably about a third of an inch of that, so you don't see the edges, which is one of the good things. So you can make a bit of a I don't know, a fist of the edges, as long as what's seen is okay. But yeah, I mean, in a way I'm pleased. I think they've come out okay, but I would really loved to have been able to fashion the Rexine all the way around it, but it's just not going to go. So I think we've almost finished on the green Rexine, apart from that one panel we're going to do, and we'll be able to turn in a couple of weeks' time to doing the brown. But for now, that's a wrap on the green Rexine. Right, they say a change is as good as a rest, and this weekend was going to be me helping mainly other people, so hence the reason why I didn't get an awful lot done on the RT, and it was, you know, unfortunately time restricted. Wesley had this bus in the other shed. It's a former Maidstone and District, Bristol, dating I think from around the 1930s. It's really quite ancient. It's a lot older than my RT. Apparently there was, during World War II, there was a number of buses parked up somewhere and they hit by a bomb, and this one was one that they were able to recover from all of those that were damaged. So where they repaired it, instead of those nice little drop windows you see on the upper deck, on the lower deck they use these fairly grotty looking slidey windows, but I suppose it's a repair. And according to Wesley, although I haven't looked very close at it, apparently there's evidence of shrapnel damage inside the bus. So Wesley wanted to pick this bus up and take it to an outside firm who are going to assist him to restore it back. Jokingly, he said he was going to do it fairly quickly, but I'm not entirely sure, because I think there's an awful lot of work on there, but credit to him if he thinks he can spin it round fairly quickly. But I'll tell you later on when he thinks he'll get it done. So what he needs to do is get his friend to come up with a recovery lorry. Apologies for the flashing lights, it's those LEDs. They don't flash like that in reality, they look normal to the eye. So anyway, inside the shed, this was buried right at the very back, so we had to get Lee's Metro out. We were going to get Nick's DM out, but circumstances sort of meant that we realised we could get this out without moving Nick's one, and we moved Mark's one outside as well. So anyway, here is the removal or moving of the vehicle from shed number 2. So after all that excitement, it was time to have a sit down and have a cup of coffee and some muffins with Mark and Wesley. We look like we're social distancing now. Reason is Wesley had a sniffly nose. He claims he's got hay fever. It's March. No, I don't know. I get hay fever around May, but anyway, maybe he does. But and Mark admitted that he had some sort of cold, so we all sort of sat socially distanced. But anyway, it was nice to sit down and have a quick cup of coffee and some muffins just to pass the time. Anyway, to answer when Wesley thinks he's going to get it done, he reckons he's going to get this bus back on the road in September. I did say which September because I've been caught out by that before, but he reckons September this year. So I've placed a bet. If he gets it on the road, and I mean on the road under its own power and not being towed around by a recovery lorry, then I'll give him 20 quid. If not, he owes me a lot more than that probably. But no, he owes me 20 quid. So I thought I'd place a bet on it and we'll see how he gets on. But credit to Wesley if he thinks he can spin it round that fast. So, right, let's move on to Nick's DMS, shall we? This was Sunday. But this picture is a quick flashback to last weekend when we had Nick's DM outside and Lee Rose's Metrobus. So anyway, Nick phoned me up, as I mentioned earlier on. He phoned me up in the week and he said, Dean, can you have a look at my DM, as the flag doesn't seem to be going up, but I've got full brakes, everything seems to be working absolutely fine, but the flag won't go up, and he hasn't got his little white light on it. There's a little white light on the flag unit. And the flag unit, for those that you don't know, apologies I didn't take a photograph, the flag unit is in the cab of the bus. It's just above the windscreen. And what it is it's a big thing with stop on it. On Route Masters, DMs and everything else sort of fairly modern, Titans and Metros and what have you, it's electric. On RTs, it's air operated, so when the air pressure drops, there's a big spring in there that brings the stop flag down. But, ostensively, looking at it in the cab, they look fairly similar, the RM and the RT and what have you. They all look very similar. So, his flag wasn't going up, so it just says there's a big stop warning. And Nick's very diligent, and he contacted me and said, can you have a look at my DM? And I said, well, I don't know, Nick, I don't know anything about DMSs. I really don't know anything about them. And it would be useful, because with my RT, I've got a big wiring diagram, and I can work my way through the wiring diagram. But with a DM, it's just really I don't know, playing around and trying to find the obvious. So I made a quick phone call to my friend Frank, former engineer at Muswell Hill Garage, who actually worked on this bus when it was allocated to Muswell Hill for the 43s. It would have also appeared at one point, I suppose, on the 102 as well, because on a Sunday they used to use them on the 102. A little fun fact there. So anyway, Frank said to me, he said, look, don't assume that the flag unit is faulty. You start off on the basis that the flag unit is telling you that there's a fault on the bus, rather than you thinking the flag unit's faulty. And I suppose that is sensible. I mean, if your oil light comes on in the car, you don't ask someone to remove the bulb, do you? So anyway, so there was the start for me. As a result of which, my Sunday started with me sort of laying underneath the bus. This is the best picture I've got, and thank you very much to Kevin Forecast, who happened to stroll along at the right time with his camera. For me, going sort of semi underneath the bus and trying to find the air tanks. There are 5 air tanks on this, and what you need to do in the winter, because it's damp, the compressor will drag in all of the damp atmosphere, and then what happens is it condenses inside the tanks, and they can fill up over a period of time with basically water. And what you need to do is every now and then is blow them down. Now in preservation, the chances of you needing to blow those tanks down are negligible. But in service, when they're running all day long in the pouring rain, they do surprisingly attract a lot of water in the tank. And the other thing that I will say is, because the tank is metal and water does like to munch away at metal, it can actually rot the tank out, causing the tank to explode in absolutely extreme cases. So on this thing, there is actually 5 tanks. So I blew all the tanks down, and then we tried to see if that was the problem. And no, although it was worth doing it. And then we decided I'll go underneath the front of the bus and I'll have a look at the various bits of wiring under there. And on casual look, everything looked fine. So I asked Nick to sit in the cab, latch the bus in while I'm underneath it, so you bring all the electrics back up, while I had a little move around of the wiring underneath, and I found that there were 2 wires that weren't making contact as they should have done. So the moment that I put these 2 wires back together again, the flag unit went up and he had his little white light in the cab. So Nick was really pleased, and then I think we all cleared off up to the cafe for some food, this being Sunday obviously. So thanks very much to Nick for the breakfast. And he did say to me, he said, how do I compensate you for this? And I don't. We do it for fun. Owning buses is great, and I'm sure one day Nick will be able to help me out on something, as Kevin does when he helps me out with all the Rexine. So we all help each other out. It's not about monetary or anything like that. And to be honest with you, a break is as good as a rest, really. So don't mention Rexine panels. Whatever you do, just don't mention them. Right, so now it's the turn of 1804. You saw 1804 earlier on when we were discussing the flag unit. This is owned by Peter Figg. It's a former Holloway bus. And on Sunday, there was a running day taking place in North Finchley, which had been organised by former London Underground colleague Keith Ward. This one was focused on the bus routes around Finchley Tally-Ho Corner, which is as near as you can get here to where the former Finchley Garage was originally sited. Now, there's a bit of a connection with Finchley Garage. This was largely organised, I mean, one obviously to raise some money for good charities, but also in recognition of a friend of ours called Trevor Muir. Trevor Muir is a very notable enthusiast. If you ever meet Trevor, you can't forget Trevor. He's an absolutely lovely guy. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, so this event really was in honour of Trevor. Trevor was a conductor at Finchley and Holloway garages for a while before joining London Underground as a station assistant. So obviously this was quite important that Finchley Garage is where he was based at for most of his career with London Transport. So, and of course, one of the vehicles that he was heavily associated with was RML 903, which was in operation on the day as well. So anyway, Trevor owned a number of buses, one of which was also in our shed for a while, RT2629. Trevor was involved in that, and he also co-owned RM2116 as well. So 2116 joined RML 903 and 1804 for this little run around the Finchley area. So all the money was raised was going to the BBC's Red Nose charity. So here it is, 1804, setting off for its moment of fun on Sunday morning. So, yeah, thanks very much for that. And here is a picture on Route 221 on Sunday. So that's 1804. Right, so with 1804 somewhere in Finchley, we shall wrap on this one. I am going to include in the next edition something I did last Sunday, and that was the fare chart, and we'll do that in another edition when I haven't got a lot to chat about. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one. It's been a completely different weekend. Obviously there's 3 things have gone on. The removal of Wesley's bus for further restoration. Obviously Peter Figg's RM out on the Red Nose event at Finchley, and me trying to fix Nick's DM. So completely different this weekend. So anyway, if you've enjoyed it, thanks very much for watching. Hit this like thing. I don't really get how that works, but some people apparently say you're supposed to do it, so I'll say you do it. So anyway, if you're interested, YouTube will recommend some more of these for you to watch. I've got Easter coming up, by the way, so it's a few more days up the barn. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more done. So see you next time. Cheers. Bye.